On today's episode of Bytes and Banter, we have Lisa, who's a return guest of ours, who is going to be sharing some amazing information from research that her and fellow colleagues have completed. She is the CEO of RLD Group, and we are going to really dive in and cook around some AI topics. Are leaders the bottleneck in AI adoption, not technology itself? What if the biggest risk to your AI strategy isn't technical failure, but organizational fragmentation? How does flying the plane while building it capture the emotional reality of leading AI integration? Lisa, thank you for joining us again and for the amazing impact that you've had on our HDI community. I know later this year, you are also going to be speaking to our virtual community July 14th. How have things been? Tell me a little bit more. Where have you gone since we last spoke?
Well, Daniel, thank you for having me, and I love this community. HDI is top notch in my opinion, and my experience in working with your groups in different ways. I'm very happy to be back. Last time I was here, we dove deep into burnout prevention and the cause of burnout as a systemic issue, not necessarily just individual failure on our parts, right? Like, we are humans in this system. And to be here today, to be talking about this applied research that we just recently put out, to be focusing on how this can be practical and actionable for your community. I mean, there's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now. So thank you again for having me back.
Yeah, the research that was released, and as the team was reading through it, there are so many avenues that we want to take a deep dive into. If you could kind of share a little bit more, what was the focus of the research? Who were some of the partners that you had in these efforts? And then we'll dive in deeper.
Yeah, I'd be honored. So our applied research is really focusing on looking at what's causing AI adoption failure, what's causing risk in the system, and we are not looking at it through we are not looking at it through the lens of tools. We're looking at it through the lens of leadership. You know, RLD Group is an AI leadership alignment consulting firm. That's what we do all day, every day. And the reason we decided to do this research is the market is flooded with tools, right? There's everywhere you turn, there's a new thought leadership piece on something about an AI tool. And what we were seeing inside our clients, inside our own worlds, and also just in conversation with others, is there was a missing piece. And so we decided, well, this is what we do. We're going to go build an applied research process here. And I really want to say thank you to our clients and their networks, because we sent the emails out. We asked if they'd give us their time, and everybody said yes. So what happens, like any sort of research process, right? You start with an idea and then it just bloomed, and we had to try and stay in our lane. So this first research paper that we did is across the board, from sales to marketing to IT to finance to HR, everywhere in between across the globe, in technology orgs. And the next piece that we're doing is we're really going to do 2 lanes. We're going to do one on government specifically, and we're doing one on engineering. Because, while there is a unique overlay here in our research, and I think everyone who's read it, like you said, Daniel, thank you for that, by the way. There's a practical thing here you can use. But we really want to get into the minds and hearts of those people in each of those functions next. Because they're different, right? And they have unique opportunities, and we want to make sure that we're adding value across the board. So yeah, we launched a research arm in our firm. Alenka Schneiderstick is the lead researcher. She's been working in AI and machine learning for 20 years. She has her PhD in this space, and was so energized to get us started that I sponsored it. I participated fully. And we had a diverse team of 4 of our collective members at RLD Group participate. So we had cybersecurity representation, human resources representation, engineering, and then enterprise leadership through myself. And I will say that one of the things that I'm really proud of, that I stand firm on, is this was a co-created experience. And we were rigorous and also brought heart because we listen to our clients every day. So why not go out there and do this in a way that can serve them and also give back to them too? So thank you.
Yeah. One Here's a funny story about when I was listening to the research that was done. I had a couple of my kids in the car with me, and there was a piece that I use a couple different tools to basically read the text for me
Hmm.
because I'm on the go all the time. So they had the luxury of listening to me listen to the work. And one of the areas that they were asking me further questions about was, well, well, if the leaders are the ones driving AI, why is it failing still? They're like, shouldn't the leaders like do some like adjust or do something? Now, note, my kids are 5 and 8, so their minds are very like in that creative space that I was just like, well, there's different factors.
Hmm.
Could you kind of share some of the things that you guys included in this research from that area?
Yeah. First of all, I, the children of today are so flippin' brilliant. I have a 14-year-old and she is constantly challenging and questioning. She hears all my podcasts and I do a lot of stuff where I'll put things in Google LM and they'll have it make its own podcast for me so I can listen while I go. And she's too like, Mom, aren't you going to make everybody mad? Don't you do leadership development? Isn't that your thing? And now you're telling them they're doing it wrong. I'm like, no, 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 they're not doing it wrong. So that's the thing. Like, they're not doing it wrong. They're just so busy and so focused with these edicts of like, just implement it as fast as you can. That's not a strategy, right? So
Yeah.
I say yay to your kids and yay to you for letting them experience hearing things through, just a car ride and having them think about the world in a bigger view. So Daniel, that's so cool. Let me make sure I'm answering the question though, because I got very moved by the children in our world, right? And they're affecting us and they're watching, and who knows what college will look like for them, by the way, right? But was your question specifically around the 3 fragmentation findings that we had, or how can I answer your question in a way that's useful to your audience?
My question would be, when there's these bottlenecks or these fragmentations,
Mhm.
what are some things that leaders can do to course correct or realign to make sure that they're not falling into these traps?
Okay, got it. Yeah. So the 3 findings. So we basically found that the things that are contributing right now that leaders can impact are the 3 root drivers of fragmentation. We call it in the research. So the first is silos. And here's the thing, silos are not new. I'm sure you know silos have been around forever, but AI has changed the way work gets done. And so silos can no longer, we can't afford to ignore them anymore like we used to, or kind of work around them. So one of the things that leaders can do right now is, are you really sharing mind share and information across the work processes, the departments, the teams? So really look for, where is there a silo that's truly impacting your ability for AI to give you the ROI you're looking for, right? So one is to look for silos. The second is, we call it lack of explorer mindset. And what that really boils down to in the day-to-day world for leaders is, are you making time for people to fail forward? Are you making time for people to learn? Are you modeling the curiosity that's required to go, yeah, I thought I'd throw all of our, quarterly reports into this thing and it would spit out this great report, but oh my gosh, it totally got it wrong. Thank goodness I checked it, right? So the lack of explorer mindset and the time to play is something that leaders can impact. And you can do it in a team meeting. It can be done in 10 minutes. It's not 3 days of offsites. We're just asking and highlighting this, that people are so busy with their heads down doing, they're not taking the time to just pause, look around, and actually play. And this isn't water balloons. We're talking about playing with the code, playing with the tools, looking at the processes. So silos is one, lack of explorer mindset and time to explore is number 2. And the third one that I think we should probably double click on the most for leaders, because they have so much agency here, is under-designed conversations and collaboration. And it's not lost on me that silos and lack of explorer mindset kind of intersect here. So it's almost like a triangle, which we call it a triangle in the report. But an under-designed conversation, in the world that we're in, it really just means intentionality, and not just running back to back to meetings, but pausing and checking in. It's requiring you to go, hey, what's working for you with the tools that you have? And what's your token usage? And are you getting the return you need? Or what opportunity do you see? Or where are you stuck? Right. So, really being intentional in the conversations around AI adoption and implementation is critical. And the same thing with collaboration, because collaborating with AI is a whole new way of working. And so we found that people are doing shadow AI, they're hiding it when they don't know what they're doing, they're acting like they're fine when they're not. And many of them are so anxious, they're just, I mean, I've seen reports about people, like when work from home was starting to really get monitored, where people had those things that would shake their mouse so they would look like they were
Oh, yeah.
working, right? They're doing
Yeah.
it with AI too, right? So why aren't we just having this conversation and being like, okay, you know? So one of the things I could say they could do is look at the day in the life of your employee or your team. What are the routine processes that really could be optimized with the use of collaborating with AI? And then where are the people on the team that could really kick the tires on that in a way that's not just the early adopters? Because you need those resistors to get on board, and they need the safety and the security to know that it's okay to fail, because the resistors are usually holding back because they're worried about something, and you got to get to the root of that.
I love this. And I recently was at an event and I was talking to some other leaders that are really driving AI within their organizations. And they said one of the things they do in their team meetings is they go around the horn, they ask everybody, they say, hey, what are you doing today? Or what have you done today with our AI tool or with an AI tool? And setting that tone and that curiosity in their meetings, they have found things out that
Mhm.
they didn't know about. Example, you mentioned some of these in the research: tool sprawl
Yep.
or duplicate examples of AI tools. Or another example that I've seen and I've heard of is the teams believe they're using an AI component, but when they finally actually review it, it's not AI. It's actually automation. So,
Mhm.
like, I love all of the tips that you provided to our listeners because it's one of those things that is very important today in technology with the speed at which we're going.
Mhm.
Do a pause. Almost do a check to just make sure everybody's, right there with you, or
Oh,
if you
100%. Yeah.
need to pivot.
I love this example so much, Daniel, because so a couple weeks ago, we ran a workshop for a cybersecurity team, well, an organization. So it was across the board in the group, and we called it AI at Work. And the reason we did this was we wanted to showcase those early adopters and the people that were comfortable enough showing the failures that they've experienced. So I interviewed them on a panel, and I said, what's working, what's not, just like we did in our research. And then they shared some examples, and then I walked everyone on the call it was a Zoom, everyone through a 5-step process, which we call getting unstuck fast. And they all walked away with, okay, here's one thing I can try, right? And then I gave everyone, what's one small thing you can do in the next 60 seconds? This is literally what I did. And I said, write it down. And so they all wrote it down. I said, okay, great. So I'm going to go put a timer on. You have 1 minute. Go do it. And they looked at me like, what? But you can do this in a team meeting. And this one woman types already, I installed a new GPT. I set a meeting to talk to IT. I'm going to talk to my daughter about how she's using it at work, and it just like boom, boom, boom. And I think we have to make it a little more safe and a little smaller. It just feels so big to everybody and so, I don't know, high risk. But there's the smallest thing. And the person that did the GPT is a sales leader, and that's helping her with her business development. But she wouldn't have done it in 1 minute otherwise. She would have gone to the meeting, gone to the next one, done the thing. So, one tip I would say as a facilitator to every leader is block out 10 minutes and let them think, and then give them a minute to do something. It doesn't have to be days, weeks, months. It can be incremental. And then next week go, hey, how did it work? What'd you learn? Where did you fail? Right? Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a piece that you guys write about where it's like share your failures, share
Mhm.
your successes,
Yep.
and that will just help elevate everybody within your organization So then they're very aware of what works well, what may be something that you you want to look at a little bit differently, or go down a different route. One of the other things that um, my kids chuckled about was this reality of AI in organizations that it's almost like you're flying the plane while building it.
Mhm.
In a couple other people that I've talked to in the industry, they kind of talk about it like a startup company in a sense. You almost
Mhm.
have to have that startup company type mindset to keep it going, keep it building. I think there was kind of an area there where you guys talked about I, we, us in that
Mhm.
leadership system lens. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more like what is I, we, us? How does that kind of play in this sense of like flying the plane while building it and maybe the guardrails that it helps with?
I appreciate that, and I might age myself, Daniel, so bear with me, but there was a I Love Lucy episode many, many years ago, and she was the bellhop and the cook, right? She was the valet, she was the housekeeper, she was running around doing it all, right? And that's kind of when we were asking, describe the experience of what it's like as you're leading AI implementation and AI adoption efforts in your orgs. What does it feel like? Because we do executive forums, so we do round tables with our clients and their colleagues. We're in conversation all the time. It's one of our core values. So we were asking this question before the research even started, and I said, I feel like, if I was to describe it, I would just be like, it's all hands on deck and everything's important. And then one of the clients of ours was like, no, it's like flying the plane while building it. And everyone came off mute. Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. We don't even, we're like, I'm like Fred Flintstone driving his own car, pedaling, or Lucy being the valet and the chef, right? So we use that phrase to say, is this how it feels? Like that came from our clients and that made its way into the research. And I love that your kids are giggling about it because it's kind of funny, but it's also really scary. It's kind of funny. It is really scary if you're not resourced at the level you need to have that plane built and know where you're flying to, but you're doing it all while you're in there. So IWS came from all of the conversations and the way in which we approach our consulting work with our clients, as well as even our like organizational strategy or coaching. So even when we do executive coaching, the first thing we always start with is the person. That's I, right? Where's your head? Where's your heart? What are your goals? How's your stress level? What are the skills you're bringing? What are the stories you're telling yourself? What's your past experience that's going to contribute to this effort right here? So I. And what we're seeing at that level with AI disruption and adoption right now is decision fatigue, cognitive load, burnout, anxiety, the I level, the people, the individuals in the system, they are really maxed out. There's a term called busyness, and, busyness does not mean you're productive. And so you just keep throwing stuff in AI thinking you're going to be more efficient and you're not checking your work and then you're getting slop out. It's like a whole thing. So the lens of I is what's going on for that individual person in their day-to-day, in their job, and what are they being measured for? Are they early adopters? Are they resistant? Where are they at with AI, right? So that's the I level. The we level is the team. And we're really mostly looking there about efficiency, productivity, as well as norms. So what came up in the research a lot is it safe to make a mistake? Is it safe? Do we all know what we can and can't use or why we're using it or how this will move the business forward for our customers, how this will affect the team dynamics? And it's really important to look at that level because the teams are doing amazing things. The thing that's really stuck in the fragmentation is it's not being connected, the dots at the us level. And us is the organization, the enterprise. It's the people, the systems, the processes, everything at that larger enterprise level. And I think the biggest opportunity that I'm seeing right now with the silos, the under-designed collaborations, and the lack of explorer mindset is really getting the teams together to be sharing more best practices across the processes and the workflows, because that will take some of the burden off the individuals who are just feeling so loaded because they're trying to keep it all together, but it's not crossing through the system.
Today on HDI Bytes and Banter, our returning guest, Lisa Duerre, unpacks the I, We, Us leadership system, the 30-day alignment plan, and what AI ready leadership really means. With a few unexpected twists, from I Love Lucy to my daughter's reactions to the RLD Group's AI Insights paper, this episode is packed with sharp ideas, a short format, and big impact takeaways that stick. Want to go further with what Lisa and I talked about today? Grab your phone and scan the QR code you see on the screen. It'll instantly give you access to the PDF with all the details.
I Love Lucy episode
Mhm.
specifically is when she is making grape or
The wine,
stepping on the
when she's
grape,
stomping on the grapes, love it, yeah,
and
yeah.
that one is just an iconic episode
That might be
for
how
myself.
people at the individual level are dealing with AI right now. Just keep doing it. Smash
Yeah,
those grapes. Just keep
just keep
pushing. Yep.
stomping, just looking around like,
Yep.
am I done? I'm
Am I
doing
doing
it.
it right?
I'm
What will people
yeah,
think?
I'm making wine. I'm stepping on these grapes, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I love that system that we'll share out to our community for everyone to kind of think about. You know, if you're not sure how to keep those guardrails in play, use I, We, Us. I think that's an amazing thing. You could probably
Mm.
break that into your different check-in meetings at all the different levels, and really continue to make sure you're checking on your people, checking on all the different types of AI efforts that are going on. One of the areas that we also wanted to kind of explore a little bit more is, where do most organizations try to fix AI, and why does it fall short?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because I think here's what we're seeing. It's not I think, it's what I know today. And tomorrow it could be different because we know how fast this is
Yes.
moving. Our point of view is that AI amplifies whatever's going on in your system. And so, that's like a very profound, thought leadership piece, right? But really what I'm saying is AI is changing the way work gets done. And if you're still working with a tech stack that's out of date, or your work processes aren't defined, or you haven't factored in where you customize things, or you're not thinking about the ramifications of data security while you're just moving along, it's going to amplify all that, right? And the thing about leadership right now, and we talk about this a lot, and I hope that people see it as an inspiring call to action. It's to rethink how you lead, because the leadership system in which we've all grown up in and been raised in and trained in, it wasn't built for machine speed, right? Like, we need to change the way we lead. And we have to give ourselves permission and grace to not always get it right and to come back to the table. And I think the I, We, Us model allows a framework for people to just kind of settle in and assess. And in the back of the research, we built a diagnostic tool that's free. Everyone can use it to look at those three lenses. But when I get down to the heart of it, I think the biggest opportunity, and it's also the biggest risk, is who are you in partnership with AI as a leader? Right? How are you showing up in that world, and how are you defending your processes and people, and how are you allowing people to innovate and ideate what's going to change so that it can be better? And that's a lot of pressure on a leader who's busy having a day job too. And I think it's a real true opportunity, and it requires leaders to sit and be still and to give themselves time to think, and to truly bring out the voices inside the org, the team, the system, because the people doing the work know what needs to be done. They do, they're doing it. But we have to be able to make it safe enough, and we have to stay curious enough to ask those questions.
Yeah, and I like this because the group covers a piece about that mindset and kind of moving into co-learners
Yep.
in a sense. While yes, these leaders are responsible for AI being in the environment, driving AI within the environment, there's a lot of learning for them too, in
Mhm.
what we can do, what we're doing. You know, as we were mentioning, where did we fail, And then what are we doing after those failures? Are we pivoting? Are we kind of moving into a different area that we wanted to focus on? I love it. I love it. There's another area that is talked about where it talks about alignment, 30, 90-day alignment. Tell me a little bit more about what you guys were covering in that space, and what were some of the kind of interesting insights that those that participated with you guys
Sure.
provided.
So one of the things about the research that we did is we asked the questions very similarly into how we do all of our consulting, right? So we were very rigorous about it. We made sure that we asked the same questions to each person. We got the same amount of time for the information that we got from them. And it started off like, where are you struggling and what's really hard about AI right now? And then we shifted it to what's working well, what's great, what would you never touch? Because the first thing you want to do to align anything is protect your wins. So no matter what level you are, I, we, or us, protect those wins, hold them sacred because it's working. So that's what you build on. That's where momentum comes from, right? The second part that we did is we started asking what's not working and what's working at each of those levels so that we could get a sense of how they're looking at it at the individual level, team, and enterprise. And one of the, I guess the big ahas was just how much they build on each other. And I didn't set out to do this research to like affirm our consulting process, but I can tell you it was really mind blowing to come back and see, yes, when you start at that individual level, which is everything we start with, right? That's where the magic is because the humans inside that system are the ones that can change this game. So I would say that one of my big ahas was that people have tremendous capacity to keep going and that their nervous systems are pretty dysregulated by this point, and that people don't feel safe enough to slow down. And as much as I preach this, I've certainly had my burnout stories. That's why I was on your podcast last time.
Yes.
I forgot that brilliant people can be blind to their own burnout. And it's so funny to say. It's like the cobbler's children have no shoes, I guess, Daniel. Like, I'm like, of course they're right on the verge. So anxiety is high. And I think what I would like to invite leaders to think about with what we found in the diagnostic tool is you need to look for the decision fatigue that's happening, the I'm just going to get it done mentality, and really start looking for what they can stop doing, right? We just said protect the wins. That's great. That's what you continue. But what are you going to stop doing? And what are you going to start doing? Because that's where the magic is. And I mean, I don't want to do a whole TED Talk soapbox thing here, but I really do want to highlight for people that the smallest check-in in a one-on-one, the smallest 10 minutes in a team meeting, like we've talked about earlier, really can affect alignment. It can really accelerate alignment. And to the point where this diagnostic tool that we built for people, we show you what you can do in 30 days. How might you reconnect I, we, and us in your system? And it's not about changing everything. It's picking one thing and really sticking with that for 30 days and seeing what's happening. The other thing I would say is we put in, and I'm going to pull it up so I can look at it with you. We put in these amplification signals. In other words, what are you going to do to ensure you have speed and trust? And I think that the other piece of this for me is we're talking about this research and with the work that we're doing is you can have speed, but without trust, you're screwed. And if you have trust and no speed, you're not going to win this race, as they're calling it, right? So it's balancing speed and trust. So in this diagnostic tool, we give things like, you're going to notice if your alignment is getting better, you're going to have faster decisions and fewer surprises. Okay, I'll take that, please, right? You're going to
Yep.
see the guardrails are understood and shadow AI decreasing. You're going to see sustained usage, right? Everyone's measuring tokens right now, right?
Yes.
How much money have we spent? How many tokens are we using? Well, okay, there's more questions to put underneath just token usage and really getting clear for your team what matters. How will you measure that alignment is happening? There's a lot more, less duplication, right? More open learning, people sharing all these things. So I think one of the things that I would invite people, if they download the research, which I hope they will, because it's, as you've said, 8 minutes of reading can really open your mind. But the diagnostic tool at the end, you can do it by yourself. And we even offer on the other side of it, if you want to debrief your results with us, we'll spend 30 minutes. Let's go through it together. Maybe we see something you didn't, or you're helping us think about research in a new way on this next version. So I would call this open loop, right? And I think the last thing I would say on this that I've noticed, even in the last 3-4 months, is how much is changing, and how, if you don't intentionally keep your eye on alignment, the gap just keeps getting wider and wider. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be all doomsday, but I mean, our point of view is without alignment, you don't have a business. So,
Right.
I'll just call it.
Yeah, I love this because you're ultimately sharing, a lot of the insights on who do we need to be. Specifically, we need to be curious. Curious drives us to kind of have those regular check-ins with our people, those pause moments. The pause moments is so big. I've mentioned in some of the other episodes where, like, my hope is that people take one thing away. The one takeaway for me is the pausing. That, like, such a simple concept, knowing how things go day after day, just pause. And then you talked about how do we need to operate? Like, you gave a couple different tools, a couple different guardrail types of tips that these other organizations are using. I, we, us is one of them. Some of the other things that you just mentioned. And then you talked about the acceleration of AI and the alignment of value and things like that. Like, I'll be honest, I was one of those believers in the beginning that said, let's go. Let's turn it up. Let's go fast. Or I want to go fast. And, had to learn kind of the hard way, see that failures were just left and right failures, to the point where it's just like, okay, slow, methodical, with all these different check points is the way to go, because you build upon that, almost kind of like the little pebbles. Like, if you complete one of these things, you get a pebble a day, and the more pebbles you get, oh my goodness, the amount of things that you've already accomplished at that rate.
Yeah. Can I join you on something, Daniel, with what you're saying? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Because I really want to
Please,
highlight
yes.
something that I don't know. My YouTube channel is called Real Talk with Lisa. So here's my real talk.
I love it.
Anxiety is contagious. Uncertainty is contagious, right? And so we're telling people to pause, and they're like, I don't know, I can't pause. I got to get it all done, blah, 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 right? So even in a meeting as a leader, if you were to just give them 5 minutes back and surprise them, right? I'm not suggesting you go on a 3-day yoga retreat. I am asking you to pay attention to the energy on your team, the energy that you feel in the emails being written, the energy in the, customer escalations that happen. I mean, you guys are in this world of, supporting everyone at all times. I mean, if you work in cyber, your stress level is high every day. You live in the world of threat. And I think that has to be acknowledged. And we need to really look at and be practical about what's possible, because I think there's a lot of people running around, get it all done, do it all now. And then, we're going to save all this cost. And I'm asking people, okay, great. Yes, there's a bottom line impact here, but what's the top line opportunity? Where can you help those people in your org be the best they can be and bring their brains, their lived experience, their intuition, their energy to this project, and take off the stuff that's just routine, mundane, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, AI is embedded in everything. I remember when all the smart functionality was coming online and we were like, whoa, right? Like, this is not, it's new in the sense that it's the next thing, but we have been down this path before. And I think if we can remember how we got through it and recognize this is even faster, I guarantee you most people will say, yeah, I need to slow down. I need to think more. I needed time to reflect, which is why we run our leadership labs, to give people time to think. So, I really want people to remember that energy is contagious. So if you're a leader and you're excited that you failed and you want to share it, that's contagious. If you're the leader that's like, I always got it all buttoned up and everything's good, that's contagious. They're going to model what they see and what they feel. So own your energy. It's one of the things I always like to say.
And I love that you joined me there, because that was leading to some of the other things that we've talked about earlier about this is a leadership moment. very much leadership moment, not necessarily a tech moment. Now, AI is considered tech, but this is a leadership moment. How do you get the competitive edge? How do you make sure that everybody's aligned within your team? It's a lot of TLC.
It's a lot of TLC. Yeah, my buzzword, my favorite word is intentionality. You need to be intentional.
Yes.
Mhm.
Pause. Okay, so this next little spot, something Rocky and I talked about. They're rapid fire questions. Now,
Okay.
so Lisa, I have a couple rapid fire questions for you. Looking for just some quick answers for the audience to hear. Where is AI creating momentum but not connection?
Everywhere. I'm
What?
kidding, but you know.
I love it. That's so
Is
good.
that a blooper? Can we put that in there?
Oh,
Everywhere and nowhere. Daniel,
I
it's
love bloopers.
everywhere and
Yeah,
nowhere.
everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay, I'll do it again, I promise you.
I'll frame it up again.
Yep.
Where is AI creating momentum but not connection?
AI is creating momentum and not connection most at the we level.
What learning is happening quietly that needs to become shared?
The learning that's happened quietly that needs to become shared, honestly, is about failing. What didn't work? What did you try that didn't work?
What decisions feel fuzzy that shouldn't be?
The decision that feels fuzzy that shouldn't be that comes to mind for me is what should we stop doing? I would say, if anything, we keep promoting things on LinkedIn, not like selling stuff, but like thought leadership pieces, referring back to things. We're going live, we're doing all the things to just tout this. And so having this opportunity to share our research with your community, honestly, my heart is so happy and I'm really grateful for the conversation.
Yeah, we had a fantastic time with you yet again, Lisa. And I love that we pulled in some I Love Lucy for all the different fans out there and shared our favorite episodes. Thank you again for the impact that you've had within our community and your continued impact. We look forward to all the other work that will be coming out soon.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. It's an honor.